Well, a fine Auckland winter good morning to you. I have just arrived at a little place I haven't been to in many years called Rangitoto Island. It's that right there behind me. This island is a volcano. It's one of the youngest volcanoes in the Hauraki Gulf, about 600 years since its last eruption. And interestingly, being such a young island, it's connected to one of the oldest land masses in the Hauraki Gulf. It's about 178 million years old, which is Rangitoto Island, that has a kind of interesting history. Plan today, I'm hoping the sun comes out, that the weather forecast is actually correct. We're going to try to scamper up the volcano. It is about 10 a.m. on the dot. I got about till 2:20 p.m. Rangitoto Island has been part of Auckland history for a long time. It was a very well-established Maori settlement. They actually used Rangitoto as a lookout for war parties and things that would come in from the mainland. And after colonization, Rangitoto would host these huge Victorian picnics that people would all come out from Auckland City, and they would stay out there for a number of days. And I think, if I remember correctly, it's like 10,000 people or something. At present, Rangitoto is undergoing one of the largest pest eradication attempts in the world. We're trying to get rid of rats and pretty much all non-native species. So, much different to Rangitoto, which has never really been properly settled because the ground is volcanic rock, which you'll see in a little bit. It's funny, I never really experienced it before, but volcanoes have a very unique kind of energy to them. It's a little bit like you're not quite welcome here. It's still something special. I can see why a lot of cultures consider these things as gods, you know? Was a bunker that they built in World War II. This would have been one of the many places throughout the Hauraki Gulf. Oh, this is pretty neat. Some old bunker remnants. I didn't realize it until checking my watch earlier, but this is actually the 8-year anniversary of my wife and I arriving in New Zealand. Lonnie and I came August 24th, 2016. So 8 years we've been in New Zealand. I gotta say, I really like the perspective of the world from New Zealand. I like looking out at the rest of the world from this little corner of the South Pacific. It's an odd thing being an expat because you don't stop being from your culture. You know, so I'm from upstate New York, and that's baked in. That's the personality that I have. That's kind of the vehicle I use to communicate with the world. But when you move to a new country, I've seen it with a lot of people who move here, because this is a place that's so far away from most people, you get disoriented, you know, everything is different. Your points of reference change, and I think a lot of people start to ask themselves some pretty big questions, like, you know, what it actually is to be a human being, like what a human being is. But I think for a lot of people, if you never leave your culture, you don't realize that it's something you've created. When you change countries, you start to feel that. And again, for a lot of people, your foundations get shook, and that can be a feeling not too dissimilar to depression for a lot of folks. So we see people come, they get really excited by the nature and the beauty and the more relaxed pace of life, and then the months tick by, they start to think about their family, they start to get lonely, then off they go back to Europe or back to the US or wherever they're from. Okay, decision time. It is 11:40. Rangitoto Wharf via Mackenzie Bay Road is 3 hours. I think we go to Mackenzie Bay at least. And then if we haven't made better time, we'll just come back up the way we came. A little thing that's always bugged me, it's been a little bit of a pet peeve, is when people come to new countries and say, oh, the people are so nice. Like, yeah, I think there's very few places in the world where people aren't at least somewhat polite to their guests. Obviously, if you're going into a war zone, an incredibly hostile place, yeah, maybe people aren't going to be super friendly, but for the most part, it is human nature to be polite to your guests. So I think coming into a new country and then saying, oh, the people are nice, is a bit of a nothing burger, kind of a hollow statement. There you go. That mountain over my shoulder there, that's where we just were. Beautiful spot. So what are we going to do for the next 2.5 hours before that ferry shows up? One thing you should definitely do if you're coming to Rangitoto, and it's probably obvious, but pack a lunch, pack snacks, pack water. So I think people get confused because you're so close to the CBD. But this is, in fact, a wilderness preserve and an island to boot, so there's nothing here in terms of amenities. So make sure you got water, make sure you got some snacks if you're going to be here all day. Listen to you, boy, mouthy. Yeah, I feel like Auckland is misunderstood within New Zealand. You know, a lot of people dismiss it because New Zealand is fundamentally not an urban country. I don't think they realize, like, Great Barrier Island is part of Auckland. Waiheke Island, 6,500 people live there, that's part of Auckland. There's all these, like, beautiful little inhabited islands of the Hauraki Gulf, like Kauau and Rakino. All these beautiful little places that have people living on them, beautiful nature reserves. The tallest cliffs in the country are out west, which is in the Mercer Bay Loop. I mean, it's absolutely spectacular. The weather, for those living in Wellington, I think they'd appreciate Auckland because you can, you know, leave your door open without slamming shut and shattering the glass. Wellington's a very windy city. It's not just a city. Auckland also has huge farming communities, beautiful beaches, beautiful cafes, and if you're coming from outside, as in like outside the country, there's so many foreigners in Auckland, you really don't feel, I don't know, displaced. Like you have a home here because everybody is from somewhere else. I mean, we gotta check out Yankee Wharf. Can't have an actual Yank come to Rangitoto and not check it out. There you go. Yankee Bay boat ramp. Also, you have a nice little place to dock your boats here, or to moor your boats. That over there is Motutapu Island. That's where they'd have those big old Victorian parties. Before that, there was a really well and long established Maori settlement. That is an old piece of land that's been established for a very long time. Technically separated by by a little piece of water at low tide. And this behind us is Rangitoto, which is a fresh new volcano. So two very different pieces of land here. It's 12:36. So if I'm going to make my 2:20 boat, I actually have to go back along the road. I can't do the coastal track because that'll be 2.5 hours, sadly. So that'd get me back at 3. Just waiting for the ferry to show up. 3.5 hours went by in a flash. It's been awesome. I reckon if you really wanted to, you could bring a backpack out here and hike out to Motutapu, where there's a couple of campgrounds, and you could spend, gosh, 2, even 3 days hiking around these islands. It's really cool. As soon as you leave the main trek, you kind of have the whole place to yourself. Most people will get off the ferry. They'll walk straight up to the summit. I think they'll poke their noses. There's some caves around here, but the caves are old Maori burial sites, so I don't know. I didn't see them. Didn't feel like something that was super necessary or respectful, so I left those alone. But there's so many treks. This was managed by the military during World War II, so they had roads all over to be able to move their vehicles around. So that's a day spent on Rangitoto Island. I appreciate you tagging along, and if these continue to be interesting for you, we'll see you in the next one.